Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your Sunday services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, this video is something of an explanation because the video I did last night, so the video immediately prior to this one, when it uploads, was me doing a tribute to a great British legendary comic character called Roly Burkin QC. Queen's Counsel. Now it'd be KC, King's Counsel. And it's a character made famous on The Fast Show, which was a sketch show during the 90s on BBC Two, created by Paul Whitehouse, who actually plays the character of Roly Burkin QC. And the character appeared in pretty most of the episodes, and you can watch a big compilation of the real guy doing the real thing on YouTube. I'll put a link to it below. And but I was in the pub, you see, and very, very drunk. No, I wasn't. But people ask me sometimes, where'd you get the ideas for the videos from? I mean, obviously, if I'm reviewing something, well, that's where the idea came from. I'm going to review this, or I'm going to review that, you know, or I'm going to unbox this. But usually, I'm in the pub, and an idea for a video might spring out of a conversation with someone, or I could be sitting there in a corner, minding my own business. Earphones are in, and as everyone knows, when Kilty's in the corner and his earphones are in, leave him alone. Don't prod the bear, leave it alone. And usually I get a few ideas, so I make little notes on my phone, this phone right here. And sometimes I send that to my daughter. Can you write this up for us? So I've got a few little notes for the subsequent video. Anyway, last night I didn't do any of that. Good natter. Band was beginning to start. I thought, oh, I'm not staying for this. I didn't stay for it. But I had an idea to do a tribute to Roly Burkin QC, one of my favourite comedy characters of all time. So, without rhyme or reason, and I'll explain why that is, I came back and I sat down and I began to do his speech patterns, his mannerisms, and his gibbering, incoherent melange of storytelling, anecdotes and hysterical laughter, all liberally infused with this stuff. Whiskey. Cheers, y'all. To Roly Burkin and Paul Whitehouse. I'll just turn this down a wee bit. And I did it and I thought, well, that's a bit of fun. It was totally improv. No, I had no idea where I was going to go with it, and that's the whole point of it. And then, of course, I uploaded it, forgot about it, and I woke up this morning to an absolute barrage of messages on my phone from all over the world. Mate, are you all right? Are you okay? I mean, I'll be honest, I always wake up every morning to messages, usually on the ceiling saying, "Get out! This is not your house or your bedroom." But they were saying, "Are you all right? Did someone spike your drink last night? You were having a fit. you were really, really drunk. You don't take drugs, do you?" And I was like, "What the hell?" And I kind of forgot about the video. So I was like, oh, you guys don't get it, do you? Little tip, folks. Often in the title of the very video, it kind of gives it away. And I did call it Roly Burkin QC, a tribute or homage to him, something like that. I did write it, and in the description below, I said exactly what I was doing. I was paying tribute to the great Roly Burkin, played by Paul Whitehouse on The Fast Show. But people, I now discover people don't actually read any of that, so I don't know why the hell I bother writing it in the first place. But they just thought, what the hell? He's often drunk doing videos, but he's never seen him like this before. He's making no sense at all. Which is the entire point. Because Roly Burkin, he's a retired barrister who sits in an upholstered armchair by a roaring fire in a gentleman's club. He has big Wurzel Gummidge hair and a big strawberry nose, and he's exceptionally pissed. Very, very drunk. And he's trying to tell you stories, but he can't get any of the stories to make any sense. He speaks incomprehensible gibberish, but he will punctuate that with strange little lines that do make sense. And because they make sense, You kind of wish you knew the full story, but it's very, very clever. And he always ends it with, I was very, very drunk. And sometimes, well, not sometimes, once there was a poignant segment where he told a story about meeting a girl before the war started, and he held her in his arms. And I've always said this about actors, comedians. Part of being a comedian is being able to act as well. If you're playing different characters, obviously you've got to learn how to act, haven't you? And invest that character you're playing with genuine sort of, real life sort of convincing authenticity. But what I found with people like Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, and there's many others, they'd be hysterically funny, but when they're called upon to do something sort of tragic or poignant, it hits you all the more because you don't expect it. You don't think they're capable of doing it. Rowan Atkinson with Blackadder Goes Forth, that finale, it's tear-jerking. And Paul Whitehouse does one in this Fast Show episode where he holds this woman in his arms. There's been moments of brevity and funniness leading up to it, but then obviously he stares at the camera and you hear the embers in the fireplace crackling away, and he just stares for a long time at the camera. And if you look, you can see little faint tears on his cheeks, and he says because obviously very wistful. You don't know the story, but it clearly ends tragically. And he just goes, I was very drunk. And it ends, whoa. Got a bit choked there myself. That's the power of comedians who can act as well. They can put poignancy in. Now, I wasn't doing any of that. I was doing the main thing, which is just speaking gibberish and trying to throw some funny lines in there and try to do it as authentically as I possibly could. Something else I realised though. The Fast Show was created by Paul Whitehouse and other people, and had likes of Caroline Aherne in there, Charlie Higson, and a whole slew of other people. Harry Enfield had been involved with Paul Whitehouse previously on different shows, and they were working together again afterwards. I don't think Enfield had any really input into this show. Smashy and Nicey wasn't on this, was it? That was a Harry Enfield television show, I think. But anyway, I'm talking gibberish now. But what I realised is, even though I've been drinking and I'm pretty good at being improvisational, my entire channel is built out of improv. Okay, if I'm reviewing a movie which I know inside out, obviously there's a sort of trajectory to go through the movie and give my opinions. Well, that kind of way, you don't need a script for that, do you? But I go off on tangents and I remind myself of things and just go off in different directions. That's just me being spontaneous and a bit of improv. It's not scripted, I've got no idea. I don't rehearse these things beforehand, and I certainly didn't do it for last night's episode. But what I realised was that they must have a script to do it. He must have a story that Roly Burkin is trying to say, and then he'll use certain lines from it, but in his mind, he knows he's telling that story. But he's just like, big squirrel, and laser beam eyes. He'll just throw a load of wobbly stuff in there as well, which makes the whole thing completely incoherent. But that's the beauty of it. He's a hysterical character. So, the other thing I realised was that people in America, Australia, and even people in this country didn't know who the hell I was doing. They thought, he's having a fit. He's having a seizure. We knew it would happen one day. Didn't know he's going to record it for us though. So I've had to tell a lot of people like this morning, and even in some of the comments as well below that video, people just didn't know. Mate, are you alright? Oh God. It was a tribute to another character, and that is exactly how he acts. That's how he does it. And he's based on a real life character called Andrew Rollo, who Paul Whitehouse met on a fishing trip in Iceland. Paul Whitehouse and Bob Morse have a very successful TV show called Going Fishing, and the two of them just sit on the riverbank and fish, but it's hysterical and it's very therapeutic and it's a big success. Anyway, so you met this guy, it's Andrew Rollo, and that's how the guy speaks, and that's how he tells stories. He's all over the show with it. So Paul Whitehouse just thought, this is genius, I've got to create a character out of this guy. And the two became friends, and he's even appeared on some of the shows as well. But that's how he speaks. So he created the character out of a real life personality. And I was just doing a take on it. That's all I was doing. So now I just want to set the record straight. I was not having a fit, a seizure. I was not monumentally pissed. I mean, I wasn't very, very drunk. I was reasonably tipsy. Reasonably. But that's about as far as I go these days. You haven't, well, no, you have. You have seen me pissed as a fart. I have done stuff pissed as a fart. And they're probably the most convincing Roly Burkin QC impersonations I'm ever going to do. Cheers, y'all. My dad, big kilt papa, loves stuff like this. My dad, I've told you before, my dad was a raconteur, but he wasn't very good at it. He loved telling jokes and stories, but he wasn't very good at doing either. He couldn't deliver a punchline to save his life, but the fun was watching him persevering and trying to get to the end of what could be the simplest of jokes or anecdotes. And he knows what's coming. And he'd be laughing all the way through it, hysterically. And he'd be tripping over words and contradicting himself and then going back to the beginning and then getting the names all wrong. And the fun was in watching him just try to get through this. And you'd be in absolute bulk. You'd be laughing. Your ribs would be rattling round. And the punchline was never worth it, but that wasn't the point. It was the journey getting there. So, but my dad would tell stories of people that he's met, people that he'd worked with, people that he'd met that day. And he would, without even knowing he was doing it, he would go into doing their voices. He'd try to copy when he tells someone, I met Dave from accounts, and Dave speaks like this. He's a bit slow on the uptake, He played rugby and had a few knees and his noggin over the years, He's a bit punch drunk, So you put, if you know someone who speaks like that and you tell a story about them, you try to put that into the story, don't you? And my dad, well, he tried to do that. He never was very good, but it's weird how I think I've picked up that from him more so than from my mother, Big Kilt Mama, who was an actress and obviously portrayed different characters and put different airs, very often airs and graces, but different accents on. So she would play different characters. But I didn't get it from her. I got it from my dad. So I learned from a guy that couldn't do it properly in the first place. So learn from the West. That's what I've done. So I just wanted to set the record straight. And as much as I enjoyed doing it, and it bamboozled everybody else quite clearly, even a few Brits, and I was like, surely you must have the fast show. Oh, I never watched it. Oh, okay. But it's gone very bright again. The sun, it's been lashing down for half the day so far. And then the sun comes out and it's like, whoa, It's going to lash down again because I'm going out in a few minutes. It's going to lash down again. I can guarantee that. But I might do more Roly Burkin or Kilty Burkin KC because it's King's Council now. I might do. Folks, don't worry. You haven't got to watch them. And you think, oh, what the hell is this guy on? Well, I'm turning that off. Bloody rubbish. I'm unsubscribing. Well, I'm telling you in advance, I'm probably going to do more of these. Just for a bit of fun. Even just for me to do it. Get it out of my system. It's for me to have a bit of a laugh as well sometimes, So, it might be more. But you haven't got to watch them. The minute you see Kilty Burkin Q or KC or just Roly Burkin, just don't bother watching it. Or do. Once you get the joke, and I'm going to try to be more like I was last night, where even I don't know where I'm going to go with it. There's no structure, hidden behind the scenes, which I'm pretty certain that Paul Whitehouse, that's what he does. That the character did have a story in the background, but I'm going to say that line, but I'm going to, and he might throw other bits in a spare the moment, but I think there was a hidden structure to how he did it. There wasn't with me. There's no hidden structure at all, except the thing that keeps me upright at the bar. Cheers, y'all. Anyway, I am going to go out now and drink more of that stuff. I've got tons of it here, but I still go out and spend money elsewhere. But it's the social aspect, you see. And on that topic, people like, not just comedians, but the people like Paul Whitehouse base this on Andrew Rollo. You need people like that in life. That's why I love pubs. That's why I love traditional old pubs. Not your designer, not your Wetherspoons, where you just get, the most boring people on the planet drinking Wetherspoons. No offence, but they do. You want proper old traditional pubs where people have got quirks and eccentricities, weird traits. They've got maybe opinions you don't like, but they're not afraid to vocalise them. Something which in this country right now people are too afraid to do. You know, I don't care what your opinions are. Don't ram them down my throat. But I'll listen to them. But I'm going to come back with counter arguments, possibly. But if I agree with it, then a great big laugh will be had all round. But I love people that have got. They're weird. Let's just say they're weird. That's why I fit right in. Everyone who drinks in the cask is weird. I'm going to be watching this going, I'm not weird. So you know, fucking well are. Don't be sheeple and don't be afraid. You know, I've always stood out from the crowd. Even in school, I looked different. And the Marines, I looked pretty much the same. A proper boot neck and all that. But that's a reason for that though, isn't there? But the minute it was out, oh, I'm going to glue the hair. Whoa. And then obviously adopted the kilt and all that. So I now really go the extra mile to look not part of the crowd and not to act part of the crowd. Don't be afraid of who and what you are. People in this world are so blinkered and just go with the flow. I've got to blend in. And I'm not knocking it. If you stand out like a sore thumb, you know, suddenly you've got attention on you and people don't like that, well, I understand that. Me personally, I likes the attention I does. Oh yes, you've probably noticed. Cheers you all once more. So you get an explanation about the character, you get a sort of semi-apology for confusing the arse off of people all around the world, and you get a bit of a life lesson as well. Where else on YouTube do you get this? Where else? Nowhere else, and there's a reason for that, because no one wants to fucking watch it, do they? It is what it is. Anyway, folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man, so please, in the meantime, and as ever, just express yourself. Even if most of it is pure, incomprehensible gibberish in between time. Please keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all. Just big jellyfish driving a car. Laters! And there might be something Jaws related later as well. Ooh, back to the norm, hey, Kilty.